broadcast machine, 24/7 days a week. A social media stream. We are not corporate. We're indie to the core, free to do our own thing. We are who we are, and we are Pack Stereo. We are the new view. We are Pack Stereo. We are the new view. We are Pack Stereo. We are the new view. We are Pack Stereo. We are the new view. We are Pack Stereo. We are the new view.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unscripting Mario. Your host interview, Emil Bonte.
Hello, everyone, again. Just a quick reminder to catch everybody up on the point of this project. This is, again, a interview biography in which we take a look at the man, the myth, and the legend as we know it as Mario Hensley. We're going to explore stories of his life, his motivations. We're going to talk about basically his victories, his pretty much every exploration that we can, and get to know the person. And all of this is being done for a biography, a series of books in which we explore his successes as a doctor and as a independent movie producer. Sorry, not movie, music producer for indie projects for the internet, all through Pack Stereo. So that's the purpose of the series. And last episode, we were exploring friendships in which we brought Victor in, and they were telling us the adventures that they were having at Mario's apartment on, I believe, 54th. That's where we left off. So we're going to continue to explore stories of their friendships. I want to hear stories about his support group and who supported him during his interning as a doctor, and which I'm sure was a rough and hectic time. Who was there to help him during that period of time, and take a look at what inspired him and the people who inspired and helped him basically get his become a songwriter. So let's start with where we left off.
That's a lot of shit.
Yes, some would almost say that you were interesting. So, let's start where you left off. Vic,
Yes,
you were telling us about the apartment and how you guys first met. Do you want to recap exactly where we left off?
Yeah, for those who may or may not care about it. Simple friend. We had a mutual friend, Dwayne Jones. What's up, Dwayne? And he worked in the medical field. And Mario had already given you guys the background on having interest in making tapes and music. That whole thing was what brought us together. Dwayne and I were hanging out as friends. He worked with Mario, or indirectly, and said, hey, one day, hey, man, I'm going to a friend's house, man. He does tapes. Went over to his house, met him, 54th Street, and we found what we call that synergy in music. And music was the core that kind of kept us together, and then it branched off from there. So how far you want to take it, man?
Well, let's talk about that. I'm very interested in bonding and the things that bond us together, especially during the times where I'm sure everybody had their own day job, and basically you found this thing that you guys loved, but was it the fact that you just loved music, or was it the fact that you found people who are so interested that you can do something with this thing that you love? What drew you together more?
Wow. You know what? I think some things are just natural. Music is a bond.
Yes.
It is a big bond. It usually not only brings the music and what you all appreciate, and I think we all were into what we call this jazz influence. A lot of radio stations were playing a lot of what they call R&B jazz.
Okay.
So we were kind of the knowledge kings of it.
Could you paint a picture of the time period? How old were you guys around this time? Yeah, paint a more vivid picture. Tell me about the time and the influence and the essentially your surroundings and stuff.
This is probably hitting, my best guess would be about 24, 25 years of age. I have to go the earliest because I know Mario and I was talking about 81.
Okay.
And so right around that time.
So this is the 80s.
Right. It's right in the 80s because he remembers because there was a period where they were involved in doing parties. And I was working so hard and I kept missing them. They would always say, what happened? That beget this kind of, well, wait a minute, I need to follow up with Mario, see what he's doing. I knew about Dwayne. Dwayne would say, hey, look, Mario's at a party. And I would go, I'm always missing him. So it was around that time, probably around 80, 81,
all right,
82.
so a lot of the musical influence that you had at that time was the late 70s stuff. And what was happening in the early 80s? What was hip at the time?
Oh, man. Talking about the rap.
Well, later in the 80s, rap and
Rap.
hip-hop was really growing.
Big, man.
And eventually things like New Jack Swing,
Mm-hmm.
New Jack Swing.
Teddy Riley's whole kind of a groove, but they were plays on hip-hop.
Okay.
Different kinds and forms of hip-hop.
But jazz was particularly popular even at this time, even in the early 80s?
I don't know, jazzy kinds of stuff. When you say
Oh,
jazz,
that was just something you guys were interested in, period.
That's it. That was just an
everywhere
interest.
a little bit. And you say jazz, that brings different images to different people. Because a lot of the jazz that was influencing me was caught up in the controversy, or was it really quote-unquote jazz?
What do you mean?
In other words, there was a whole pushback on jazz. When jazz started crossing over to be more popular, things like Grover Washington with Mr. Magic, there are a bunch of the purists who actually questioned whether or not those things were actually jazz. In fact, Gil Scott-Heron did a song, Is That Jazz, specifically about this, because he found himself stuck in a weird category. It used to be that when you went to the record store, music would be in certain categories, and because of the politics, you would actually find groups that changed their categories. I watched Prince be rock, pop, soul, because soul and any of those derivations are all meant black music. That was just code for black music.
Okay.
Pop meant white music.
I
So
see.
either it was white or black, and then ultimately you had rock in there, right? And things like gospel and bluegrass weren't even worth talking about in terms of numbers.
So why was jazz such an influence to the both of you? I'll let whoever want to take it first take it.
Well, I mean, it really has to do with the artist. I would say I wasn't out looking for any particular style of music, but then the music of certain artists I heard, and that affected me. And and then going to Howard University, and the exposure I had there further increased that. But things were coming across the airways. Grover Washington was one of the big ones, and Earl Klugh, George Benson. All that stuff was happening and making a bunch of us turn. When I got to Howard, the Blackbirds with Donald Byrd were big on campus.
Okay.
So these were jazz influences that were already there, that were doing music that was other than jazz because it was crossing over. You had very popularized disco versions of things that were jazzy.
Okay. What about you, Vic? What were you listening to back then?
You know what? It's going to be interesting. Jazz was an influence only because, for me, it probably was more soft R&B.
Okay.
But I remember a specific event that happened that connected me to Gino Vanelli, Quincy Jones, Ramsey Lewis, all of them.
Okay. This sounds like a story. This is why I'm here.
It's not a big event, man. It's not the kind of thing that you want to be flattered over about doing.
Okay.
One day, I was out talking to a friend. I said, I would like to try to find me a 10-speed bike. He says, okay, I'll get something for you.
Okay.
He brought me back a bike. He says, you know what? If you give me an extra this, I'll sell you this. And there was a container. This is back in cassette days, full of cassettes.
Oh.
And he said, I'm not sure who the artist is. And he only marked up the price like $10 and said, here. And it was all the artists that I'm talking about that I never knew and never followed. And so that was the inspiration that got me into it, especially at a time when we were dating women. So I would play that music, and they loved it. And forever, that was my influence as it relates to that. Just that time as it relates to jazz, soft R&B, and like Mario said, more contemporary jazz. And it just took off from there, man.
So the universe literally delivered a playlist to you
Yes,
that
it did.
you just so happened to
I have
enjoy.
some of those cassettes in our dark room right back here that I keep in a shelf that I first got when this guy sold them to me. I'm blown away that influenced me that whole
Well,
time.
you hit the nail on the head when I actually had forgotten that one of the main reasons we made the tapes was to influence ladies.
Yes.
You know, I would damn near make a tape. If I had a big date coming up, I'd have to make a special tape just to be playing in the car on the date. And because the music was so much a part of my life that I wanted to weave that fabric in. So at an early age, it became an area that I took pride in. The music that I knew, the music that I would play, my abilities to arrange them in a particular order that made them the most pleasing. Because in those days, when we started, in the very beginning, very few people even had mixers.
True.
And
True.
then the first basic mixers came out. We started doing mixing, but no one was scratching. None of that. It was all a matter of how you overlaid the ending of one song into the beginning of another song.
True.
And so that's what it was all about. But definitely it was about style and influence and your ability to impress others.
Okay.
Because I was constantly requested to make party tapes. Someone would have a party, they would say, Omar, would you make a tape for my party? And if you were a friend of mine, I just might make you a 90-minute cassette, 45 minutes each side, full of good music and also dedications to you and your friends.
So you were DJing even recreational. People just had for a tape. It was just something that you...
Oh, totally.
Okay.
And at parties that came up, that's actually how I got into it at Howard. At Howard, even when I had two turntables, we were wide-jacking them into one input.
What does that mean?
That means you would take the two turntable outputs and just use a special cable to connect them. We called the wide jack.
Okay.
It's one turntable left, the other turntable left, one turntable right, and run that right into the mixer. That meant the minute you put the needle down on the second record, they heard it.
Yes, they did.
So you had to wait and put the needle down.
Okay.
That was the way it was done back in the day.
So when you finally did get together and you guys were, did the both of you just make tapes for each other, just trying to outdo each other? Was it competitive, or what exactly was the experience that you had that bonded you with the
we came
cassettes?
together years later. We all had been making our tapes on our own. My tape making started essentially with reel-to-reels in high school.
You had access to reel-to-reels in your high school?
Well, that was all you had. They weren't expensive. Then you had the little kind of duddy ones, and they had the reel-to-reels you would put on. And so I had one of those, and an expensive one, because cassettes. When I started making tapes, cassettes hadn't been invented yet.
Wow.
So you had reel-to-reel tapes. That's what you played.
And is that the 8 track or
No, just reels.
oh,
tape.
actual little.
Reels of tape.
Forgive me,
Put
I
on a machine.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
then later on, cassettes. The reel-to-reel was around still at the time that there were 8 tracks, but being able to record an 8 track was very unusual to specialized equipment that no one had.
Okay.
So if you were making a tape, in those big early days when I was in high school, it was a reel-to-reel. Cassettes came out when I was essentially, as far as I remember, they came out when I was like near a senior in high school.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
But my first cassette deck I bought when I was in college. Before that, they didn't exist. So all my early tapes were reel-to-reel.
Wow. Okay.
And then when cassettes came out, we switched to cassettes.
Okay.
And then it became a battle of what tape.
Yep.
What was your favorite tape to use and the expense of the tape?
Yep.
Chromium dioxide tape, different tapes. So that became the thing. So by the time Vic and I came together, we had a history of making tapes for some years. By the time I met Vic about my tapes, we're talking about when I was a resident. And so you're talking essentially, I had started late high school, went all the way through college making tapes. Okay?
Okay.
And then went through medical school.
Okay.
Then met Vic. So you're talking about 10 years after I started making tapes.
All right, we're going to get back to you, Vic, in a little bit, but I want to talk about that period of time, that 10-year period of time when you were going through medical school and stuff like that. Can you talk to me a little bit of what it was like for you when you first attended medical school? What was your expectations? What was it like for you entering this world?
Well, professional schools are challenging anyway. You throw into the racial dynamics of the time. Out of a class of 140 people, there were 3 blacks.
How old was, what year was this?
This was 1977. And when I got to USC School of Medicine, they had just graduated their first black woman.
Oh.
I met her.
Do you remember her name?
Rebecca Wills, yeah.
Okay.
I know her. And I met her. And so that shows you how little progress had occurred. In my class, as I said, there was me, another black woman, and another guy.
Okay.
So it was the 3 of us in that class, about 140.
Did you make friends with those 2, or were you able to break the barrier and befriend other people of different races, or was that
challenging
as well?
All of that. We all had to work together. The sister and I became study partners.
Okay.
Donald kind of did his own thing. We had also a study group that I was in that consisted of a few people in my class. For the most part, these are not, doctors are, to me, inherently not liberal.
Conservative, exactly?
I would say conservative, and usually the personalities that go into it are used to being told what to do.
Okay.
So they also, to me, are not rebels. Okay. By nature. They follow what they're told. They're like law students, too. They tend to do what they're told.
Okay.
So it was a fairly conservative group. At the most part, they mostly ignored you. My classmates were more irritating than any of the professors. But of course, that's just the sign of the time. If I raised my hand in medical school, the whole class turned to look. So when I raised my hand to speak or answer any questions, it was like one of those old what we used to call EF Hunt commercials. They stared. So that was the kind of interest that you got. That kind of came with it, because being so few blacks in medicine, you're always going to be mostly surrounded by whites. And also because it was medicine, you're going to be discussing things that could be taught with different racial overtones.
Was that weird
Things
or
like,
intimidating for you to have such attention to be brought to? Like, was that different from your other
It could be
business schooling?
intimidating. My personality is such that I'd already come to Howard University. One day I had on a T-shirt that said, "Healthcare is a right, not a privilege," and the professor challenged that statement from the podium. In front of the whole
right
class.
then and there?
Right in front of the whole class. And I was more than ready to explain that. And I explained how in modern societies we're judged by the rights that we provide to the people who are not wealthy. So all of these things are decided upon. And I reminded my professor, if you really want to be a purist about it, there are no rights. There's the rights of nature that says if you have it and I can take it from you, it's mine. You want to go back to that right? Other than that, there are no rights. So societies are judged based on this. Okay. And one day, health care, just like education, is going to be considered a right. Okay, access to health care, these things. And I defended myself adequately. Okay. Enough that the professor, he remembered me for years to come. I found speaking up about things actually worked in my favor. Maybe that was the beginning of all that. But I had come from Howard University.
Well, did it also help that you had a sense of humor about things, being less stringent and less conservative? Was that helpful? It
was helpful that I've always been able to make my arguments. Using humor or using sarcasm. Okay. I've always been able to make my arguments when in the face of these things, because some of this is endemic. Racism is everywhere, especially the more money you get paid, the more racism usually involved in it. Okay? All right, so that's the way that kind of works. So you just get a different intellectual kind of racism, but the racism is totally there.
With that in mind, what was it like? What was it like not only being black and going through medical school, but being close to having a study partner who was a black woman going through it as well. How were you guys
Well, we
treated?
had other study partners. We had some of the white folks.
I know, but how are you two treated? How was it like? You were able to observe closer
There was
than
no,
most.
you know,
Were
there
you-
was the underlying, okay, we weren't treated, no one really confronted me. There was the underlying that felt sentiment that you could feel.
So you
That they felt that you either didn't belong there really or
so there was
not
a
in.
sinister overtone, is what you're saying?
I wouldn't say that it was sinister overtone because, like I said, for the most part, they mostly ignored you.
Which
most of
is
your
kind
classmates.
of, you know,
But, you know, it's not so much. So there was an undertone, but on the other hand, I represented well. So because I was Mario,
you were more treated more as a person
well,
than a.
who would guess? I wouldn't know because
Okay.
I was me. And for example, when we had an intramural game against the dental school,
Mm-hmm.
and they were almost getting into a fight, and I was telling everybody, "Hey, we're all professionals," and everybody started laughing. And when we played the law school, and I said, "You know, that's okay. We can whip their ass now. They'll be suing us in 10 years."
So the humor did help.
Well, yeah, I mean, but race and issues of race are affected everyone more than, and they affect everyone greatly today. It was just more then, and so that kind of came with the territory. It wasn't something I wasn't. It was not unexpected. I had been growing
Prepared
up
and prepared for it, yeah.
Growing up in the United States in those times, to a degree, prepared you for those kinds of things.
Okay.
By the time I got to medical school, my ego strength at least had gotten me ready for the trials that be, even though the amount of work was overwhelming. For example, you know those big black notebooks some people use in college? When you look at the side, they're like 3 inches.
Yeah.
3-inch binders. Like,
Yes.
Okay. So I had 12 of those when I started studying for finals at the Christmas of the first year, after the first semester. I had 12 of those.
Okay.
Okay, to study for the finals. Okay. Okay.
So I imagine, the experience was hard. So what
Well,
helped
worked
you?
on my ass off. I never worked. I lost
So-
contact with the world. The phone rang. I damn near got an erection. The phone was like, you know, oh, the world. I want to rub the glass. You go to the window and just stuff would happen, and I would be totally unaware.
Hopefully you don't want to rub the glass with said erection. But let's talk about your
Cut
social.
it. Hard enough to cut glass.
Again, you can
No, back in those days, you were so bad.
you can
It
keep
was
that in
rough.
the file.
Because anyone who's going through that kind of work for any reason, it affects your abilities to have relationships, which is the thing that's nurturing to you.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah, so that is a hardship. You end up being.
Isolated, or what would you say?
I learned a lot. I confronted things. It forced me to deal with issues. Okay, the whole issue with what I needed emotionally in terms of relationships from women, because that kind of study day in, day out, you know, and no one wants to be with a medical student. They want to be with doctors. They don't want to be with medical students who are broke, tired, no time. They don't want to be with them.
So-
I mean, I had a girlfriend for a minute, which used to go to the library. She would just basically conk out. She tried to, because she had studies to do too. She just couldn't do that kind of studying. You know, pick her up at 6 and go to the library and study till 10 or 11. You know, she'd just be worn out.
So you really didn't have. So basically, med school was pretty much your partner in that was studying. There was no real.
No, I made time. I did my best. It would be up to you to decide how successful. Listen,
okay.
I hit the Club Email, and I'm going. I have 3 hours. I have work to do.
You timed.
I have tests. I have shit to study. For me to get here, I studied up until a certain time.
Yeah.
Then jumped in the shower, got dressed. When I got to the club, I was like a man on a mission. I had a certain amount of time. I needed to hit, score, something. I did not have time to fuck around. Okay, so I was there to meet somebody, do something, get the hell up on out of this bitch, because I had studying to fucking do the next day. And that was my attitude. Terrible attitude. So I would hit the club. It was like Terminator, right? You read out. Ching, measure, data, like a plausibility. No, because you had to. You had to. You needed the situation unveiled to you your needs. One of the things I've preached since then, maybe before then a little bit, is that my father and I had this discussion about your needs versus your wants. Because no matter who you are, you're wrong about your needs versus your wants. You think you know them. See, everybody thinks they know. If I say, what are your needs, what are your wants? Do you know the difference? People think they know it. You don't know it till you get tested. Then you find out a bunch of shit that you thought you needed, you only wanted. Okay. But there was some other shit over here you need. And you didn't know you needed it. Because without it, you were fucked up. Okay? That's how you find out. You think you could go on and be on your own and do all this shit, then one day you got so much work, you never see the light of day, and you realize you are fucking nuts. You're going crazy, and something better come in here and rescue your ass. Okay? Because you're going nuts. That's the reality of things like medical school. Maybe some people breeze through it. I hated it the whole time. And it was a tremendous amount of work.
So you didn't really connect with people? You didn't have...
I mean,
did you have friends?
I had friends. I've always had friends.
Tell me about it, dude.
A bunch of them, that was the only one who was getting fucked up now. One of my study partners, an older white guy, basically just couldn't take it and failed out.
Okay.
Other folks did okay, but they were stressed too. Some folks did better, and other folks were very stressed with the amount of work.
So what did you do to alleviate other than going...
I started smoking weed. I started smoking weed in the second semester of medical school. Before then, I had tried marijuana once or twice, but I really wasn't into drugs, and I didn't like the idea. And so, but second semester, medical school, I can remember how the night that I decided to start smoking weed. I can remember how it actually started.
Okay, tell me about it.
It was a Friday. Like a lot of Fridays, I came home thinking how I had so much work to do. I needed to study tonight and then be at the library like 9 or 10 in the morning. Usually if I went to the library and we did like 10 till 3 on Saturday, then I could take off Saturday night, come home, from 3 to 6 or 7, relax.
Yeah.
But I needed to go to the library like 10 till 3 on Saturday. And on Sunday, I probably need to do something like that again. Maybe longer. So you had to put in hours of studying every day, no matter what. So I came in this Friday, totally absorbed with the work I had to do. I opened the front door, and the time I was living with my father. There was my father running the vacuum saying, "Did you forget we're having that party tonight? Here, I need you to run around and do some things for me. Hey, I ordered these 30 chickens for to be picked up, and there's like 10 cakes over such and such, and then go by and pick up the drinks, and here's a bunch of money and pick up the ice and drinks." And I'm like, oh, we got no stuff to do. So I set my stuff down. I'm like, so I go start running errands, getting cakes and pies, and it's a big ass party. So later on, about 8 people are coming, and I'm standing there. I finally get dressed. I'm standing there I ain't gonna give a shit about a party. I got so much work to do, and the house is full of people, and they're going and partying and doing shit. And I'm just like, I got so much work to do. I got so much work to do. I didn't need to take off tonight. I need to get up. And so, about an hour into the party, 9 or so, a famous, he's dead now. I don't know if I don't mind saying Warren Wilson, the famous Warren Wilson, the newscaster, who people used to love to turn themselves into. That was the only way they were like, I'll turn myself into Warren Wilson. Because my father's wife, new wife at the time, was a newscaster, Felicia Jeter. She had a lot to do with the people at the party. And so I'm standing in my room down the hall from all the action, talking to a buddy of mine, and he knocks on the door and says, "Hey, anybody smoking weed in here?" I say, No. So I'm still like zoned out. I got so much work. And he goes, well, you mind if I smoke some weed in here? And I go, oh, okay, I don't care. You know, I'm still like, I got so much work to do. So he rolls a joint, and me and my buddy keep talking. He's in my room. I'm playing music on back there. He was kind. I had met him before, so I knew him. He was a nice guy.
Okay.
So then he started finding the joint. And he handed it to me. I said, okay, whatever. Man, I don't even know what happened. That was the first time I was so high. Next thing you know, I was out there dancing and shit. And the next thing I remember, I'm dancing and I'm like, where's everybody going? My father says, 2 a.m. They're leaving. I was like still dancing and shit going. I was like, God damn, that must have been that marijuana. The next day, I called up one of my buddies who I knew had a drug connection. I said, man, I got to get some marijuana. That shit was wonderful. He says, well, I don't want you buying it. I will provide it for you. When you need it, the drugs, I will provide it for you. So he hooked me up, and I started smoking. Now, I would study like till 11 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And then 11 o'clock, I would shut down.
Reward yourself?
Watch the monologue, Carson's monologue, whatever, and smoke weed for an hour or so.
Okay.
In fact, I got to the point because my buddy who used to work family liquor store, he would get off and get to my house like 2 minutes to go before the monologue. I would study till he rang the bell. Then I would close the books. Then we would watch Carson's monologue. He was getting off of work, and then I would smoke some weed. And so I started out smoking by myself just to relax. I was listening to Marvin Gaye, I Want You album, all the way through George Clinton albums, reading the comic books, Flashlight. It was deep. And so marijuana was able to soothe me. Let's not make any mistake about the value of this. The situation was an oppressive situation with a lot of emotional, mental overtones. I became a different person. I had a friend who visited me one time. He said, I've been over here for 3 hours. You never sat down. You realize you've been watching TV standing up for 3 hours, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I had just gotten to be like that. I didn't know how to relax, and the marijuana helped me to relax.
How did that help you change socially? Were you still?
Oh well, I was
weirdly like a hunter in clubs.
Yeah, I still say, but the marijuana helped mellow it out.
Uh-huh.
I got hooked up with some other guys who sold, and some of the people who sold me weed went on to become very successful. One of them was went on to become a big New York attorney. All the law students were selling weed back then. All the law students. And I used to go pick up my weed. I'd give them an envelope. And sometimes the envelope would be jingling. So one day after we got to know each other, he said, Doc, what's with the envelope? This is like the damn 007 shit. You come over here. I said, well, I didn't know what marijuana customs are. It was this amount. I put the money in the envelope, and I handed you the envelope. And you handed me the marijuana. I thought that's the way y'all did the drug scene. He said, no, we don't do anything like that. So I acclimated to the marijuana culture, and the medical students at school. Oh, don't get me started. Medical students get high more than they were doing heavy drugs, hallucinogens. They're in there on mushrooms and acid and shit during class. So I was doing all that crazy shit. Like they were talking, I was gonna take some mushrooms and go skydiving. I said, you out of your goddamn mind. Got mushrooms. I don't shit. But medical students were doing every kind of high.
Yeah.
And plus, on Fridays in medical school, they treat you different. They bring out kegs. Medical school is way different class-wise. At medical school graduation, we had champagne.
Oh, okay.
As much as you could drink. Just flowing. The school paid for that. Okay? So they had kegs on Friday, and the faculty would come out and drink with the medical students. Now, I didn't really like all of them that much, sit around and get drunk with them and shit. But I would drink a little, the faculty was basically cool. It was the students that were paying in the ass. But the marijuana made all of that better. And for medical school and then on, marijuana became my bitch. Kept me. I don't know how. I'm sure. I guess I could have made it. Uh-huh. I can't imagine how I would have made it. I don't know how you go through shit like that and don't use some substances. It's like
Would you say it's
it's like
bad?
certain conditions. I bet you we was in combat. Vic would start smoking.
So I would say, would you compare it to?
Vic would start. Give me 1, 2, shit.
So you would compare it to be it's traumatic, just the amount of stuff that they throw and make your mind work so consistently it would be traumatic. The experience of
I think
school?
being under that amount of pressure to consume those amounts of material, then be evaluated on that on an ongoing basis as pressure. Some people adapt to it better than others, and then that's beginning of pressure, because once you get done with a book in medicine, you start dealing with a person. So that's more pressure, because one day when you're sitting there, it suddenly occurs to you could fuck this person up. Okay, if you mess up.
Okay.
It suddenly becomes real to you that you could kill them if you do shit wrong. Okay, and that has a certain kind of pressure. Because I went on for 30 years and became the doctor that either I get the tube in or the baby's dead. Okay, that was my job all the time. Okay, to sit between you and death.
All right, this is starting to sound like Nam. So let's
It was
let's try to get it back.
It is like nah.
We'll get to the hard, gory details of baby killing later on, Rambo.
Well, but luckily they mostly survived. But shit,
well, good for you.
good for them.
So, but let's keep it like I other than marijuana, I want to know your connections with people. How did before you got to your residency, what was your social life like?
You mean
just with connecting with friends and people. Period.
No medical students have wonderful social lives. I managed to keep a girlfriend because I worked hard at doing the things that maintain women. I practiced the kinds of things that would make women like you. I remember Playboy used to do this survey every year about the things that a single man should have in his home. And they would have these rankings, like ready for women, totally unready, no clue. And they had this other level that they called, you might be accused of being a cross-dresser. I had everything that women needed, bobby pins, I had brushes, I had every shit that they might need in my apartment. I became obsessed with being a good whatever, lover, man, whatever role we think as young folks that we're trying, whatever we think that you're supposed to be. I worked hard, as did all my buddies.
Okay.
I would say that's probably one thing that's consistent about all of us. We worked hard at being good dates. We bought clothes. We tried colognes. We bought you flowers. We wrote cards. We made tapes. Mm-hmm. We did a bunch of shit to make you like us. And I became much more aware of what was involved and what I was doing as a standard of practice. Because my issue was I didn't want to be on my own alone while going through all this stuff. I needed that release, the sexual release, the companion release, all of that stuff. And then I was forced to confront that, as many of us do, on the more real terms that either you get this or you might fucking just nut up. Okay? Either you get fucking laid, okay? Mm-hmm. Or you might just go out and act a goddamn fool. Because that's how you're feeling right now, okay? Okay, and there's shit that gets like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's so since I was faced with that, right in my face, it caused me to adjust. Because I was like, I'm going to do what's necessary. And for a while, I just learned to be more political in my talk.
When it comes to...
I don't want to say that you become manipulative, but I became aware of what people didn't like about me socially.
Which was?
And I tended to control some of those things. I could be controlling.
Okay.
Challenging.
And this was...
I can also...
This was a complaint for girlfriends or all your friends?
Well, part of what I've learned and what I believe is that what people dislike about you is usually the same shit. Now, at least the other ones who don't mind it so much know exactly what they're talking about.
Okay.
So if your old lady can deal with you being a kind of a controlling asshole,
Yeah.
she at least knows you're a controlling asshole.
Gotcha.
And if you don't know you're a controlling asshole, you're an idiot. Because all your friends ask them when they watch you the game, hey, am I a controlling asshole? Yeah, man, yeah. You get an uproar around the room and you're shocked, you're an idiot. Okay, you're an idiot. There's a lot of folks who are like me. There's a lot of male,
Yeah.
but against me is when they act like they don't know it. Like, what do you mean? No, everybody thinks I'm male. No, they don't. Everybody, call your best friend up now. Ask her if you're an asshole. Okay, and she'll go, "Hey, did you have a moment of enlightenment?" So most people just don't want to admit that they're assholes. They want to act like it's some mystery shit that no one sees, only them.
Okay. All right. Bringing Vic in. What was your impression of Mario the first few times? When did the controlling asshole view wash over, if ever? Did you ever notice he was a controlling asshole? Or
No. See, you know what happens?
What?
Maturity does things where.
You were 24, by the way.
Right. Maturity does things later in the years that you look back on differently.
Okay.
This was total creative energy, women, sports. Mario and I began to do things that Dwayne, the friend that connected us, didn't do.
Which was
Sports. We
Okay.
played at the Y. We go to Venice Beach. We go skiing. Dwayne wasn't really into that stuff, and then we were into the music.
okay.
So we found commonality in other areas. And let me just say this. When you are 24, 25,
Yes.
and the first time a beautiful woman that you didn't think is attracted to you,
Yeah.
it turns on a whole different consciousness.
Okay.
And you are now building what they call, I want to be mature, responsible, I want to be able to make an impression, and that's surrounded with all your available time.
Okay.
Outside of responsibilities, everybody worked, everybody was continuously going to school,
Okay.
and it was just part of the whole paradigm. So from us, it was all creative. I didn't even run into the control. For me, I was around guys that always were controlling. They want to control the women. They want to control the work.
Exactly.
They want to control everything. All of us did.
And the thing is this. You didn't know you were controlling until you ran into some shit you wanted to control. One day you get some shit, that shit is so good, you say, I got to have this shit on lockdown.
A lot more.
I got to lock this shit down. So that's when you become controlling. Now, at the same time, with the time Victor met and I became friends,
Yeah.
I was not the Mario that we discussed as an adolescent because I had enough criticism of my buddies. You always want to run shit. That's like junior high and high school.
Okay.
So by the time I was later on,
Uh-huh.
I was much more of what I would say a democratic parliamentarian in principle, right? So I didn't really have
So
that
this
kind
is
of role.
after med school?
No, even the issue
med
with
school changed
Yeah,
you?
well, no, college, all of that, just growing up. But I would say in relationships, this would still be the issue. Okay, I would either argue or debate it, but the women now I would with. Let's put it like this: the common criticism would be, sometimes I do not like the way you speak to me. Not like you're cursing me, but you definitely are speaking down to me and talking to me in a way that's insulting.
Or
So that was condescending. So I got that from men and women early enough.
Okay.
At least later on, the women. In medicine, you have to understand the personalities that are embraced in the medicine are sometimes not the ones that you want in socially. Because in a moment of crisis, you need people who take charge.
Gotcha.
That was always my thing. Those same characteristics don't help you always
In friendships.
in friendships and relationships,
Gotcha.
okay? But in the middle of someone coming in with a cardiac arrest or actively convulsing, you don't want it to be a democratic. The person who's in charge takes charge and starts barking orders
Yeah.
and assumes responsibility for the patient and the situation.
So it's kind of like soldiers readjusting to normal life after being so stringently disciplined and following orders. They have to readjust.
And there's other examples. I make the suggestion that I don't care what you're successful in. If you're very successful in something, you tend to get an attitude which you have to be careful because your spouse, your mates, and your children don't give a shit. Okay, they don't care if you are the president or you own the Lakers or your kids and your spouse. They don't give a shit. She still has to lay down or eat whatever you doing. They have to lay down with you and love you and go through all your bullshit. So they don't care about your titles and all that.
Gotcha.
But you're used to that world where they're kissing your ass. So imagine military men where they go and go work every day and everybody's yes, Master Sergeant, yes. They go home and the wife's like, take out the trash. Okay, I'm just telling you, the world don't give a shit. We used to talk about this when we had the internship program. Remember I used to tell you? Mm-hmm. I said, I come from a world where you tell people things one fucking time. Mm-hmm. One time.
Yes.
If they have to tell you twice, we pulling you aside. You have a problem? There's some problem, we have to tell you twice. 3 is unheard of. You get another job. So then you come home and deal with the regular people who got to be told shit 15 times.
Yes.
So, hey, didn't I ask you to do that shit 5 times yesterday?
Yes. I'm a graphic artist.
See, no, that's it.
You asshole.
Remember,
I don't have to put a tube in a baby. I have to draw a goddamn logo.
Right.
Shut the fuck up.
So the worlds that we are used to, that people get acclimated to, are so different. I came to view the average world out there of one that is mostly filled with mediocrity. That the average people, the average person, is not even trying to be good. Well, they're just trying to get by.
We can go into the philosophy of that, but going to that is expectation. People had expectation, and life had expectation for you that was above average and more stringent than most other people. If you try to apply that to the world, you are a fool. You are a foolish person.
No, it's not for me to apply. It's for you to apply.
It's not for me to apply because life treats people differently.
No,
that's something.
Well, let me put it to you this way: you could ignore it and fail.
No, people
miserably.
People excel in mediocrity.
No, I'm saying mediocre is by definition mediocre. It depends what's left over.
Then explain Geostorm.
I don't know about Geostorm. But the point being is, when you look at the world, you start to get a real understanding about the way the world is laid out.
Gotcha.
Who gets paid and who doesn't. And you recognize that there is that talent. Okay, we've been doing internet television. Ask me how many struggling artists we have run into who are working their little jobs, either waiting tables or whatever they can get, and working at their craft. The typical, the storybook person who comes to LA and works hard and does their thing and works. We've met like 3 people in like 20 years. So most of the people we met weren't even making a reasonable attempt. They weren't even doing the most basic efforts at promoting their own shit. If they were a musician, they weren't recording anything.
Okay.
They weren't putting. That's all I'm saying. Trayvon will tell you to say we ran into him,
sir.
Victor, we ran into him, right, Vic?
Sir.
Let's stay on point, you guys.
I'm just saying.
Stay on point.
Well, that is the point.
No, it's not. You're killing me. No, it's not.
The point is to understand
we're going
the philosophies that lead to success in some people. That was my point.
We were heading to Hawaii. I'm sorry, the joke is we're heading to Mexico and we wound up in Hawaii. We wasn't even supposed to be on the plane. So we're talking about friendships.
Well,
how did we get? I feel B.A. Brock is. How did I get on this plane?
When you talk about friendships, inevitably includes why you're friends or why you're not friends, and the challenges that go into those things, and so therefore you would have those same
standards.
Specific issues that I raised.
Well,
in other words, those issues that I just raised will affect your friendship.
Relationships.
You'd be with people who fuck up all the time, and they get tired of feeling like they fuck up all the time.
True. No, they get tired of you telling them that they fuck up all the time. People can be happy with fucking up. Well, they just don't want to be reminded that they're fucking up.
At least I know that it's fucking with them. It's at that moment I don't give a shit. Okay? But at least I know it. What gets me is the people act like they don't know it. They're just talking, I didn't know that hurt your feelings. No. When I check you about some shit, know that I knew exactly what I was doing, okay?
You guys have about 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It means whatever way you want to interpret it. That's what I don't know what it means. It means that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, that.
What can I do with that?
I don't.
What can any? What if you were to tell a teenager, "Hey, teenager, it's whatever what you mean. What are you going to do with? What am I going to do with? What?"
That's not what I said. So you might again. That's not what I said. You may not have understood what I said. That's not what I said.
No, I understand that. If you notice something, you make sure that it's perfectly clear that it's noticed, and that you want to make sure that you're communicating the issue with the person, because
That's sort of what I said, but again, not what I said.
then correct me. What exactly are you saying?
It was actually in response to what you had questioned, right? Because you had raised the question as to what does that do?
Yeah, what does that do?
What is the point of it?
Yeah.
And the point would be for people just to understand each other. And that some people are vague. Which person would you rather deal with to me?
Okay.
The ones who are vague, inconsistent, or the ones who are pretty straightforward and consistent? I prefer
The one who is
straightforward,
not
consistent.
cruel.
Well,
sir.
I don't. Like I said, I don't think I've been cruel. Cruel
And
would be a matter.
Here's the
of
thing:
opinion.
most people don't. But here's how it works, sir. Doesn't matter what you think. Most people will deal with the person who is not cruel. It doesn't matter whether you feel that you were cruel or not. People point out.
Let me point this out too.
People will point it out.
It doesn't matter if you think people are being cruel to you.
I disagree.
Okay, because you know what? No one gives a shit. Okay?
People do give a
Now,
shit.
Back in the other world, if that's the way you really feel, if you really feel that the world is being cruel to you, I would first start checking self.
One, we're not talking world.
Well,
we're
I'm just
talking
saying-
people.
Well, you asked it. I'm just responding.
I know.
To that point.
I'm trying to. Sir.
I understand what you're saying. I just differ in opinion.
That's
from
the
that
point. We're going
That's
to.
Right, and I just was expressing mine.
I understand. I'm expressing mine.
I have no problem.
Okay.
But you then were saying that you didn't understand what I was saying.
No, I did not.
So
I'm saying.
So then you
the
quoted
statement
me
that-
back as something.
Yes,
that was
I'm
incorrect.
saying that. No, I'm
That's-
saying expand upon that to
You
come to a
quoted
point
me
of
back something that I did not say, and I was attempting to clarify that point.
Victor, did I? What was that?
Well, that's what I said. I said you,
I got-
Mel. That's not what I mean.
And I
This
said
is what I
expand upon
mean.
it. Yeah,
That's all that was.
Yeah, I just said clarify. That's
and
it.
I did, so I'm satisfied. But it was because you said something that
Sir.
I felt like I didn't say.
I asked you, was this the interpretation? You said it was incorrect. I said clarify. We clarified. Stop.
Stop what? Stop what?
Our point is made.
I acknowledge that. What do you want me to stop? I acknowledge that the point was made.
No,
When am I supposed to stop? Quote unquote.
The stopping is you took things out of the stop was you took what I said out of that's not what I did. I tried to connect with what you were saying. I was incorrect. I asked for clarification. It was clarified. You then reiterated that
I heard what you said.
Okay.
I still don't understand, but you can consider it stopped. How's that?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Okay, because
so,
I don't understand what you're saying now. But
No.
whatever it is, we can consider it stopped.
Yes.
Okay?
6 minutes, you guys.
Okay. So I'm saying,
Okay.
it stopped then, right?
No, because you're being vindictive now.
Okay.
Now
well,
you're being-
Tell me what makes it stop.
Stop
Since
means
that's what you keep calling
no.
for.
I said no. And I only said it once. This is what
Whatever
I'm
you
talking
want
about.
to do, then just,
You're
I'm agreeing.
lingering.
Just stop it, move on then.
Okay, I'm about to ask the question.
Okay,
but you
I'm
keep
waiting for you to
mentioning
move
it.
on, but you keep reminding me, and I keep going, okay.
I can't wait to see the transcripts on this.
This is gonna be
It's gonna be great.
I can't wait
But
either.
that's the point of doing these things. Believe me, in every interview for books, that's what occurs.
I like the
I
end.
don't know what people expect, but depending on that, then they get to understand what actually occurred.
All I can say is this is on tape. This could be played back. So
Right.
you will see
I'm
what I
totally
mean by stop.
comfortable.
You
I'm
will
comfortable.
see.
I'm comfortable with that. And that's what I said. I'm totally comfortable with that.
Victor,
Yes, sir.
well, you said that you had a creative. Oh, this I was trying to do 10 minutes ago. You said you had a creative
You
bond.
do it effectively.
I did it quite effectively. Stop.
Obviously
Shut
you
up.
did, because here we are. Shit. Obviously,
Creator, no, you won't shut up so I can ask the question.
no, because you can't ask the question because you still talking.
You are
stupid
still
shit.
talking.
Well, then
I
ask
know.
how about this? Ask the fucking question.
What I Fudge!
Explain shit. Just ask it.
Okay.
Question.
This will again.
Question.
This is on tape.
Question.
Victor, you said that you had you found that you had a creative bond with Mario.
Yeah.
When it came to music, when you had listened to the tapes and things like that, what creative energy that can you explain a little bit further? Creative energy.
How to get to that point? You mean?
In not just being like, hey, we have this same sort of we have this connection when it comes to music. We like the same type of music. When I see like a creative energy, it's just that I can create with this person.
Right.
I want to ask the both of you, what did you see in each other in which you were able to be like? Did you recognize an artist in each other? Did you recognize what exactly is? Can you describe the creative energy?
Okay. Before we got into music,
after
the cassettes, we started doing DJ services.
So you did parties as well?
We did DJ service parties.
Okay, so you both did parties together.
Right. Okay. And I don't know if the tables are still over there,
But
anyway, no, I'm just looking at to see if we have the same DJ tables.
Oh, okay.
While we were doing DJ tables, Mario was already doing video, as he said before.
Even at that 81?
Right. Okay. We would shoot videos of covering events, and not all cases, but some servicing. When we got into services as the DJ shooting video.
Okay.
Now, all I remember is he had some friends, Tommy, some other people. They all came by one day, and I think Mario got a keyboard. I don't know where the hell the keyboard came from. I just know it ended up at the house, and we started to tinkle with it. And it became this thing where you had these people who were around a little bit of music. As far as I was concerned, I wasn't a musician. None.
Okay. No interest.
Mario was already going down the road with, hey, look, I don't know. We didn't talk about it. I just know Mario one day, guess what I got? And one day he got a drum machine. Okay. He was already starting to write music. This is my recollection. And people were playing keyboards, and the drum machine was sitting there. And I said, well, nobody wants to play and program the drum machine. I guess I'll do it. And I started programming drum beats and everything for the music that we were doing around here. And that led me into the creative zone. So it was by happenstance that a piece of equipment was sitting there, and I decided to play with it.
Okay. Sir?
Well... The songwriting had actually been around for a little longer. We had discussed it. We were all making the tapes. It was really, as far as I remember, I had not been in a group, but Victor and his buddies were sort of a group, and they were singing, not getting paid.
Right? Well,
not just when people had a party and said, "Would you guys like to sing?"
Yeah,
or they were just getting together and practicing.
Backyard singers.
Oh, okay,
at your home singing.
Okay,
not that
right because none of us were. So I bought a keyboard, and I had been playing around with video cameras from the early days, from the Super 8 and...
Oh, you had a film camera with film.
I had that in high school, but now I had advanced to having a video camera. So there's video of this session. And we had basically a keyboard that had built-in backing track beats. And two brothers, and you could split the keyboard, so bass was on one side and a keyboard sound. So you could play the backing beat. Then have bass on one side of the keyboard and then the piano, whatever you want on the other side. So we had two brothers that was playing the keyboards. And I think I had a DJ set up with one mic. And so we were singing, and we actually tried to write a song. You lied. Why did you lie? Something you lied. But so that exists out there, the music that we were doing. And so Victor's right. I had been DJing since Howard. When later on I got most of the brothers at some point worked with me DJing. Because I was like, you want to make some money? I need some help DJing. You can make this money, and then some of them could go handle the job by themselves, so they would make the money. So Victor was one of those, but damn near a bunch of us did the DJing. But since I had to my expertise was that the DJ console had 2 beta video decks in it. Back then, I was recording videos off of MTV and spinning videos at parties, mixed in with music, with 2 19-inch monitors, one on each side of the DJ console, right, Vic?
Yep.
So we had 2 19-inch monitors, the guy with knobs on each side of the DJ console, and we were mixing video. So all of that.
All right, it looks like we're out of time. I want to get into more a little bit about that, especially what inspired. Where'd you get the idea to do such a thing, like take advantage of the video? Because I'm sure this was before most other people were spinning visually. You somehow managed to mix the music with visuals and stuff like that. You incorporated all these other people to pretty much do this enterprise. And I want to get into, with this, the genesis of your music, you actually making music yourself. This was before Mario Hemsley Foster, but was it the genesis of how that came about? Like, you realized that I want to be a songwriter at this point? Quick question.
Okay.
Well, it was evolving at that point. The natural tendencies were that I would always combine whatever I was using in ways that were different, because I would just seek to combine whatever I was using. I didn't worry about anybody's rules. The beta decks were stereo. They had stereo outputs. Those plugged into a DJ mixer.
Okay.
So you could mix from a beta deck to an album and go back and forth. And so it just seemed natural for me to try. The 19-inch monitors were there. Between when they weren't showing videos, they were showing the output from a Commodore computer that was saying stuff like, get down, be funky, stupid corny phrases. I had a Commodore computer that would display text. So when it wasn't, and I would just use a simple switch box to switch from the Commodore to the decks to show what was on the screen. And so it was unique. And on top of that, we would then videotape your party. And at the end of the party, after DJing with you, I would say, hey, we did a videotape. You could buy it, or I could just erase the tape. And so we never not sold the tape. The tape sold every time.
Okay, we're going to get a little bit more into this, because this is what I want. This is the creative end of. I want to know how you guys crossed over into interested in music, liking music, fans of music, to wanting to do it yourselves. So we're going to explore that next time. So I turn it to Vic. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Let's close the show.
Hey, you guys, I'm going to tell you what I liked about this. Energy. I'm telling you, when you get ready to do this chapter, you guys, I really want you to make it the battle of the interviewer and the host and the writer. Get it right. You need to listen to me. Get it right. No, you need to listen to me. I love it. Title it properly. All right, till next time, you guys. It's been a blast. We out of here.
Something your mind can feel. A broadcast machine, 24/7 days a week. A social media stream. We are not corporate. We're indie to the core, free to do our own thing. We are who we are, and we are Pack Stereo. We are the new view. We are Pack Stereo. We are the new view. We are Pack Stereo. We are the new view. We are